I have a nonprofit mentoring business that I often fund with my personal finance. Is there a way that I can write off this money or write this money off on my taxes?
Here's how I would do it. I would let the nonprofit pay its own expenses. Let's say they need to go out and buy a computer. I give them the cash, they buy the computer. And every time you give them cash, they should give you a receipt. Now, I think we're kind of talking about like in-kind contributions where I'm doing something for it. Yeah, that will work. I'm just not real crazy about it because it's harder to document. It's harder to prove.
What I would say is, I think the easiest way to look at it is anytime you put money and you fund a nonprofit, it's going to be a charitable donation, so long as you document it. So what I would be doing is documenting, and then the organization is paying that expense. Now, because you donated it, the question is whether you could write that off is whether you exceed your standard deduction.
Yep.
And so we're going to look at everything from your medical expenses to your state and local taxes to what else we got, mortgage interest, and then we look at your donation. So if you are above your standard deduction, then you would get to write it off. Otherwise, you wouldn't. And again, depending on the type of business, what I might suggest for you, if you're in the it wouldn't case, is that you mark it as an expense that needs to be reimbursed as an employee, and reimburse yourself if ever the nonprofit mentoring business makes money. And it sounds like it's doing something and there's revenue coming in because it's mentoring. If you're just giving away that service, then you may not get that deduction.
Yep.
If it's not in excess of your standard deduction. So you see that with a lot of people. Hey, I'm making $50,000 a year. I'm donating a lot of my time, and I'm giving money to my church, or I'm giving money to this organization, but I don't get a benefit for it. And I'm looking at it going, well, your standard deduction right now is $12,950. If you're single, it's close to, it's double that pretty much when you're married, which is like, it's again, 25,000 plus. And unless you're giving away a lot of money, chances are you're not going to get a benefit from it. About 80% of people file the standard deduction right now. So about 80% of the people are getting no benefit for charitable giving. And trust me, the charities know this because they took it in the chin in 2017 when they passed that law. It was much more beneficial for the charities when it was a lot smaller standard deduction.
Once they capped that state and local tax deduction,
the SALT deduction.
Yeah, it made it really hard to get to that married filing joint get above that standard deduction.
Yep. And so what I would, I remember I did a Tax-mageddon, I think is what I call that, when they passed the Tax Act, the Tax Cut and Jobs Act in 2017. We did a thing, Tax-mageddon. And one of the first things we said is, instead of giving in 1 year, get used to giving in 2 or get used to giving in 3 years. In other words, put your money aside, save it. Instead of giving money to your church every week, just say, hey, you know what? I'm going to put the money aside and I'm going to give it. Maybe I'll give nothing this calendar year, but on January 1st, I give it a whole bunch. And then by the end of the year, I give a bunch more. And what I'm doing is I'm shifting that donation into 1 year so that I could try to get some benefit out of it. Some people are up for that. Some people aren't.
Yep.
Or if you have capital assets, you might give a capital asset to the church and say, you know what, can you sell it? Maybe it's stock. You sell it. That way I don't have to pay the capital gains on it, but I get to write off the fair market value. Maybe that's something you're doing instead of giving cash. So like we went through all these different scenarios. Same thing with crypto. Like when it was going way up, people were like, hey, can I give it to my church? Yeah, you can give it to your church. Your church can hold on to it till it's worthless or sell it. I'm just teasing.
I do love that whole strategy of giving either something large or giving a couple years in advance. One thing I usually suggest, especially if it's a church or something like that, is you let them know, hey, I'm giving you my next 3 years worth of contributions. Don't expect this every year.
Yep.